Good morning, everybody. My name is Barry Schwartz, and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, May 28th, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at SEOroundtable.com over the past week. A lot to discuss. We had a very, very big update on May 22nd or so. It was interesting. Smaller chatter, massive changes in the tools. We'll get into that. Feature Snippets launched test two interesting features, which you have to see. There were a report from Google showing that there was less manual actions giving in 2020 than previous years, a lot less, and I'll tell you why. And there's a ton of Google ad news, which you have to stay tuned for, a ton, so don't miss it. And as always, if you like the video, please like it, subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe, and comment below. Let me know how you think I can make it better. All right, let's get into the search news. First, like I said, May 22nd, there was a pretty big update. I believe I did a rare Sunday morning post to notify you guys about this update. Very interesting in that this update, there wasn't a significant amount of chatter, but all the tools, every single one of the tools that track these updates showed almost off the charts like volatility, fluctuations, and so forth. There were tools that were literally at 100%, 99%, out of 100%, obviously, in terms of their tracking. Mozcast was at 99%. I can't remember the last time it was at 99. Even SEMrush was like 8.7, which is almost as high as they ever get. Rank Ranger was off the chart, Cognitive SEO, you name it, every single tool was literally significantly higher. But the SEO forum chatter was a little bit not aligned to what those tools were showing. Google did not confirm it. I asked them, there was no core update released. It is what it is. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe there's tweaks to some other things. But if you were hit on May 22nd or you improved on May 22nd, you're not alone. There were some people that said towards the end of the week they saw things get better. I'm not exactly sure if that's true or not. Like I said, Danny Sullivan last week basically said that they haven't released a core update yet. Again, he confirmed that they did not release another core update. And they haven't released a core update in almost 6 months now. The last time was in December 3rd, 2020. So there was no Google broad core update, at least officially announced, in 2021 yet. Maybe they'll announce one when this video is released. Who knows? And also, he said that we are going to announce it. If we do release one, and when we do release one, we will announce it. So it's not like they stopped the practice of announcing these broad core updates. Moving on to mobile first indexing. Believe it or not, mobile first indexing 4.5 years later is still not at 100% of what Google does for indexing or crawling. Google initially had a deadline of last September 2020, to make every website go over mobile first indexing. That did not happen. They've moved that deadline because of COVID, et cetera, over to March 2021. March 2021 came around and Google still has a boatload of websites that have not been migrated over to mobile first indexing. Today is May 28th. Still, as of at least May 25th, when John Mueller was asked about this, there are people who say my site still says desktop indexing in Google Search Console. We're not going to be moved over. And John Mueller said there's still a bunch of sites that still have to be moved over. So still, we're not at that last batch that has been moved over yet. Not exactly sure when that will be, but I definitely thought by May, by now, everything would be moved over by now, but it's not. All right, so we got a couple feature snippet stuff related that I talked about earlier. So featured snippets in Google, obviously the top 0, whatever you want to call it, result. Google's testing a feature which is called also covered on this page. Here's a screenshot of it. Here's a screenshot from Glenn Gabe. I was able to replicate it. Also a GIF from Morty Oberstein. And as you can see, basically, it's basically saying not only is this piece of content that answers this query on this page, but there's also queries that this page answers as well. Very interesting that Google's testing this. People are saying, is this passage ranking? I really don't think so. I really think it's a feature. I don't think it has anything related to passage ranking. Passage ranking is, again, about really poorly optimized content pages and Google trying to pull out information. So these sites, these examples are really well optimized pages. And again, I don't think you would see a featured snippet from passage ranking because, again, featured snippets generally are for really well optimized pages. In any event, it's a very interesting feature. I don't know if they're going to go fully live with it, but it is being tested. Now, if you're in India, you might see on your featured snippets a button that says, hear this out loud. it basically reads the feature snippet to you. Google Assistant does this when you ask about a query. Google Assistant will basically read the query to you since they launched Google Assistant and feature snippets way back when. But it looks like Google's now testing a hear this out loud button in India and other regions, so the feature snippets can be read to you. Google's also testing an expandable more searches, more specific searches. So we saw more specific searches in April. Now Google's testing actually expanding that. Brody Clark found that very interesting. Here's a GIF that I made from Brody Clark's images. Google wrote a blog post this week basically documenting some of the things they did this year in terms of spam prevention and webmaster communication and so forth. One of the interesting tidbits in there, outside of all the other interesting tidbits, was that they sent out 140 million messages to site owners, which we actually covered about a month or so ago. But one interesting tidbit within that is that of those 140 million messages to webmasters in Google Search Console, only 2.9 million of those were actually related to manual web spam actions. Now, if you go back to 2018, Google sent out 4 million. So we had 2.9 million in 2020. In 2018, it was 4 million, so a huge drop in that. And now, if you look at the year before that, in 2017, Google sent out 6 million of those. Google said the reason why they're sending out less manual actions is because their algorithms are working better at automatically detecting these things and not counting them. Very interesting to hear that. Again, those manual actions are dropping significantly from year to year, and they credit their algorithms for handling that. One thing to consider, if Google doesn't consider an algorithm a penalty, but you basically see that Google's sending out less penalties or manual actions, as they call them, because of algorithms, are algorithms penalties. Hopefully you get that little point. Anyway, Google said they won't share how core web vital rankings metrics add up in terms of ranking factors. Do you need 2 green FID, you need an FID that's green and a LCP that's green, and you can have a red CLS? Google's not telling us what the metrics are in terms of how you actually benefit from that ranking factor, because they don't really talk about those things. So don't expect Google to talk about how Google's ranking factor works specifically with Core Web Vitals. Again, I wouldn't spend too much time about this. I think this is supposed to be a very, very lightweight tiebreaker, unless you're like the HTTPS update. What was interesting to me also was John Mueller said that you could technically redirect page A's Core Web Vitals to new page B. I assume that's only for the time period of when Google doesn't have any scores. So if Google has scores for page A and you create a new page that Google has no scores for, by redirecting a 301 redirect, a 302 redirect from page A to page B, Google will pass the Core Web Vital metrics until I guess they get the new Core Web Vital metrics from page A to page B. I find that a little bit strange because it is crux data, it is user data, so I'm surprised they're doing that, but they are doing that. That's what John Mueller said. John Mueller also said that building or creating blog posts that are unrelated to your business and your website for the purpose of link building and building links to your website is a wasted opportunity. Think about that. I have an SEO blog, let's say, and I start writing about camera equipment and iPhones or mattresses and stuff like that, just because I want to get links from those industries to link to my site because maybe I write really good content and I want links to build up my website. That might get you links, but it's going to confuse Google because you're going to be writing content about other information, and those links to you are going to be contextually based about other information, and you'll probably be seen in Google's eyes less relevant to your topic and more relevant to these abstract topics, and then you're kind of hurting your website in terms of becoming authority on a specific topic. As Glenn Gabe says, stay in your lane when it comes to your content. Totally believe that, and this is John Mueller basically confirming that. On the Search Console news, Google is going to drop their generic rich results type. So if you go to the performance report in Google Search Console, you click on search appearances, and then there's an option for rich results. And that basically lumps together all the rich results into one category, aggregated category. Google is dropping that on August 1st. They said the reason they're dropping that is because they have 19 different rich results that they're currently reporting on individually. So from job listings to FAQ schema to Android apps to Q&A to review snippets to recipe snippets and so forth, all of those have their own search appearance filter and enhancement report. And you could go ahead and get that information directly for each individual rich snippet. So you don't need to have a generic bucket unless you want to aggregate that information, but Google said it probably doesn't make sense to aggregate that information. That being said, Google's dropping it on August 1st, and that's what they said. Also, with that, the day before, Google announced practice problems search appearance filter. So again, another rich result feature, which is called practice problem, math solver problems, which they announced a while ago. Now they're actually letting you plot that information in the search performance report in Google Search Console in the search appearance filter using practice problems. So Google added an additional filter for another rich result type. Google, in their Search Off the Record podcast, released some pretty cool, fun information. It's always fun to listen to. I definitely recommend you look at it. They basically gave us deeper insights into how serving works at Google Search, which is a little bit boring, but if you're into the search stuff and you geek out on it, you probably want to listen to it. And also Daniel Weisberg, that was Gary from Google basically gave that information, but Daniel Weisberg from Google basically explained how Google decides what features to release at Google Search Console. One is obviously feature requests from us on social media. 2 is from their bosses, meaning the management says we need this feature. And 3, I think, is from their own team. The search team itself figures out what to do, I believe. Maybe I'm messing that up, but if I remember correctly, that's what it was talking about. Also, Marvin Split 2 days ago did a video on Wednesday. Very interesting. He does these JavaScript videos every 2 weeks on JavaScript SEO videos. And he was asked again about ranking, and he basically went off on a tangent about how he doesn't like talking about rankings. He doesn't know much about rankings. And he actually said his team, the search advocate team at Google Central team, so that's John Mueller, Gary, Marvin Split, and a bunch of other people, Daniel Weisberg, etc. They are not privy to ranking factors, or they shouldn't be. Back in the old days, they were. John and Gary were involved in having access to ranking details, but supposedly Google, that team is not supposed to have access to ranking details after when he was hired in 2018 or so. So he never actually had access to the ranking details. It does seem like sometimes they are given access to those details. The question is, it seemed a little bit confusing because I think Gary and I think John do have real-time access or some type of access to it, but it sounds like they aren't supposed to anymore, but maybe they are in certain levels. So I don't know what the levels of access are, but it's definitely interesting to hear him say that, at least for me, in terms of, since we report on what they talk about a lot, how much access do they have to that information? I assume they have access if they're talking about it, but Marvin Split is super happy that he doesn't have access to all that information. We got 2 polls for you. The first poll is that 56% of SEOs say fewer than 40% of their SEO recommendations are actually implemented. If you think about that, if you throw $100,000 at a project, an SEO project, and only 40% of that project is implemented, that means you're throwing away $60,000 from that project plan. There was a poll by Christina. I'll embed the poll. You can see the breakdown. I guess it makes sense in any consulting business, not just SEO. Often the companies don't actually implement 100% of those because of many reasons. Just because maybe developers don't have time for it and so forth. So we'll see. 40% of SEOs say they will remove AMP after the page experience update is released. 23.4% said they'll keep it. 35.3% said they'll add more. I think this poll was from Aleda Solis. You can see the poll results over here. Not sure if this is actually going to be happening. I wouldn't be surprised if like 80% of the people who have implemented AMP actually keep it, because this is a very small segment of those people. All right, big news on the Google Ads front. I'm saving it for the last because a lot of stuff happened yesterday, the Google Marketing live stream event. I'm going to go through it quickly. So sit back, relax. Here we go. Hotel ads. Google released a new hotel ads feature where hotel booking extensions amplify. So they have new hotel booking extensions. They have new vacation rentals features that are available now globally for all advertisers. And also they have a new report to see which ones are qualified for low cost. All this information was posted today, this morning. If you want to just go through it with me, there's screenshots of everything. Local campaigns launched a bunch of features. Auto suggest ads, navigational ads while you're driving, you get ads as you go, and similar places ads when a place is closed. So if you're searching for a specific business and a business is closed, it will tell you similar places that are local to that business that are actually open. Also, local inventory ads. They're adding a new label called Pick Up Later, which will show you, like, if you try to pick up now, you have until Monday or something like that. You don't always have to pick up right now or today. Customer Match has some new features where you can actually have a Customer Match Manager and a new uploader list system. So take a look at that. The Insights page was updated as well. Google made some changes to the performance max, made changes to the product feeds, and to target return on ad spend, ROAS. A bunch of other small features that I'm not going to get into. And the community action around these announcements was pretty lame, I think. A lot of people were excited about some of the new features, but it felt like a lot of these advertisers in the community were basically like, Google, most of these people who are your advertisers are not going to be looking at these such advanced AI features, and you keep talking about these crazy AI features. At least, as Greg Fink said, it's not talking to the keynote is not talking to a paper airplane. If you saw Google I/O, you would get that reference. In any event, take a look at that. I posted that this morning, May 28th at SERoundtable.com. Ginny Marvin now controls a new Twitter account called Ads Liaison, Liaison. Definitely follow that if you want to follow all the latest news around Google Ads. And if you haven't heard, I do have an email marketing list. I have had an email marketing newsletter forever. It is, no doubt, the most comprehensive email newsletter that covers not just what I wrote for the day, but also covers everything I found across the internet, both in terms of social media, like tweets and so forth, forum threads that I don't necessarily cover, as well as other news stories and other articles and other how-to documents and videos and stuff from the industry. There's usually about, 50 links in every single day newsletter. So if you don't want to miss any of that news and you want to see a really comprehensive daily recap of what has changed in the search marketing industry, definitely subscribe to that. I actually implemented a new email system, custom built one, because Google is dropping Feedburner's email feature. And I used that since 2005, believe it or not, and I really didn't promote it much. But there is a big email list there, and I do put a lot of effort into it. Or you could just get the recaps on the website, subscribing to RSS, or use the Android or iOS app, or just go to the website and check it out. But if you do want to subscribe, let me know how you like it. Maybe I'll improve it by adding custom subject lines and maybe a little bit of an intro. In any event, thank you so much for listening to the Search Buzz video recap. My name again is Barry Schwartz. This is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at SERoundtable.com over the past week. Again, today is Friday, May 28th. Sorry this video was much longer. A lot more news this week to cover. Everyone have a great, safe, healthy weekend. I'll see you guys next. Goodbye.